Hey guys, welcome back to BackPocketGameReviews, and today we are going to talk about the best Nintendo gifts. This is going to be my Nintendo gift guide for those of you Nintendo fans out there, or maybe you're shopping for that Nintendo fan in your life. We're going to go over what I think you should pick up for the Nintendo fan this year. We're going to start off with something relatively bigger, 2DS XL. Specifically, I would actually go with the new 3DS XL for myself, but either one of these is still a very good console. I do feel that the speaker setup is a little bit better on the new 3DS XL versus the new 2DS XL, but this essentially bridged that gap between what the 2DS was and what the 3DS is. Now you have that larger screen, you're having a huge game library accessible to you, and even a whole bunch of Super Nintendo classic games that are available on this guy that you can't get on a standard 3DS. There are a lot of games still coming out for this. There are a lot of games already that have come out that you can pick up on the cheap side, whether it be Ocarina of Time or the new Zelda game, Link Between Worlds, or Luigi's Mansion. There have been some huge titles on the 3DS. The 3DS is essentially what has kept Nintendo afloat financially during the Wii U's lifespan, because we all know the Wii U wasn't exactly a success. So I would definitely easily say this is still worth it, and you're going to get a great bang for your buck, especially if the person in your life is a Nintendo fan. You got Pokemon games, you got a lot of stuff to play. This guy runs you about $150, whereas the new 3DS XL is about $200. I don't think anyone has those on some huge discount though right now for the holidays. I've already done quite a few Black Friday videos and I have yet to see a discount on these. But I'm sure there are still plenty more games that'll be coming for that thing in the future. Nintendo hasn't really discontinued or given up on this despite the Switch being out, and they're still selling. So obviously this is easier to take with me than even a Switch is. So 2DS XL is the first item. Now I'm gonna put my hardware here at the back because I personally feel that that's the least common thing that most people are gonna buy, as it's going to be the thing that's really going to set you back the most amount of money. So coming up next would be a Switch itself. A lot of people want a Switch. Obviously, I'm sure most kids have this on their wish list right now. The Switch has been extremely innovative and selling like hotcakes for Nintendo. My only words of advice to you, as the person I am who tries to be as honest and upfront with you as I can be, I would pick this up before Black Friday, because Black Friday is when most people start their Christmas shopping, and that's when this is literally going to become extremely hard to find. Whereas before Black Friday, I can find you one of these right now. Almost every time I walk into Best Buy, they're on the shelf. Every time I've walked into Meijer, they've had a couple. So I would pick that up before we go into Black Friday. No one's running a sale on these either, so there's no point in waiting. Even if you wanted to get a bundle, there's nothing that's getting discounted to you except for certain games that are currently marked down. So the Switch being next item on that list, right? Now, I know those are two higher dollar items. I know some people out there will obviously be willing to spend that on their son, significant other, whatever. Obviously, not everyone has that kind of money to throw down at the holidays, so I'm going to give you 4 games as well. I'm going to try to give you a couple of games that I recommend for each console when I do these gift guides, and these are going to be the 4 games that I would probably tell you are the 4 best games on the Nintendo Switch right now, at least in my opinion, and I think these are the 4 killer apps that everyone should own a Switch for. But we're going to start off with Mario Kart 8. Keep in mind these aren't in any specific order, but a lot of people didn't own a Wii U, and even if you did own a Wii U, you're still typically going to want to have a Mario Kart game to be able to play, especially when you can play this on the go. I can play with 2 people on the go. There are a lot of awesome things with being able to have Mario Kart 8 on the Switch that you get out of that. So I definitely feel that's worth the price tag. Splatoon 2. Splatoon 2 is a very fun game. I had actually not played the first Splatoon until after Splatoon 2. My son absolutely loved it, so I did get to watch a lot of Splatoon. And then I picked it up for the Switch because I was like, well, there isn't a lot of games out for it right now because, you know, I was mostly sitting with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Snipper Clips, and a couple other little small games. This was the next really big thing that I picked up. And it's a really fun game. It grows on you very quickly, and it's a lot of fun without being too stressful while playing online. Next up would be Super Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey is a fantastic game. It is everything you love about Mario, but while bringing it up to date with the newer games. Mario obviously has kind of started to fall behind when it comes to technological marvels, and he's felt a little out of date for a little while. I feel this was a wonderful return to form and a amazing step forward for the series as a whole. Next up, you've got Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So the Breath of the Wild game is fantastic. This is hands down the main reason why I bought a Switch, and anyone who plays this is going to love it. This would be the only time where I will ever tell you a game like the Elder Scrolls was out Elder Scrolled. That makes sense to you. Good job, Nintendo. Way to update your franchises and bring them into the future. So obviously, games, something huge, something everyone who has a Switch is going to want at some point. I did not put any games on this list for the 3DS XL, obviously because you should be able to figure out what games are good out there, because there are so many reviews out right now. But the Switch is probably going to be one of the hottest items for Christmas. Next up on that list would be a Pro Controller. Now, I will say this. I was very skeptical at first. Nintendo did Pro Controllers for the Wii U, and they're not bad. They weren't terrible. This thing's extremely comfortable. This is actually how I opt to play most games when I'm not playing the console in tablet form. Even if I were playing this on the go and I had it popped up in front of me, this would still be an awesome way to play any of the games. It is an extremely comfortable controller. It is very easy to use, and it feels really, really good in the hands. I'm a huge Xbox fan, and I love Xbox's controllers. This would probably be a very close second. I probably even like this a little bit better than I did the 360 controller, and that's saying a lot, because that's typically what I tend to use when I play on PC. So, Pro Controller is a little heftier. It will set you back about $70, and a lot of that's because it has a lot of features built into it, such as being able to tilt the controller. You have tilt sensors in here. You have a bunch of different sensors in here that help with the game itself. There are a lot of features in the game that, well, a lot of the games that will use those tilt sensors. So Pro Controller would definitely be a huge thing on that list. Next up would be micro SD cards. So this one is going to be going in the new 3DS XL. If you are getting one for the Switch, I would recommend getting something that has a faster speed, whereas this is just a standard Class 10 micro SD card. Class 10 is referencing speed as well, but the extreme speed cards are also much, much faster than a standard Class 10 card. Right now, Best Buy has 128 gig micro SD cards on sale for $29.99 for their Black Friday sale and for the pre-Black Friday sale. So if you can pick up a 128 gig fairly cheap, it's a pretty good gift for someone who has a Switch, because a lot of the games, if they're going with some of the third-party stuff or even some of the indie stuff, is going to require it to install data over to the system. So I would recommend getting them some form of a card. If you're getting someone a Switch, say a child, I would probably also pick one of these up for them. You could even create your own little Switch bundle and put it under the tree. Next up on the list would be Amiibos. Amiibos. My wife calls them Amiibos. I don't know if she actually knows that that's wrong or not, despite me having corrected her in the past. But these guys are awesome. A lot of people like collectibles. They bring you in-game content. So each each amiibo has different things and different games that it'll bring into that game for you. It's essentially DLC in a collectible form. Now, I like them for collectible purposes, and I also like them because I have them on display, which a lot of you know because they're in the background of most of my game streams. So, the amiibos are pretty cool. They've got constant ones coming out, like this one's one of the new Mario Odyssey ones, and they just released the Zelda Champion ones as well. So if you have a Zelda fan out there and they have a Nintendo Switch, even if they don't have a Nintendo Switch, a lot of people that are Nintendo fans will still collect the amiibos either way, and they do work on a lot of the 2DS XL and 3DS XL, the new ones, games. You can also get an attachment for the older versions of the system, but that feels kind of backwards to me, personally. So Nintendo's done a really good job integrating these and their functionality into its games. Now, next up on the list, you might have some trouble finding an SNES Classic. I would have put the NES Classic on this list, but you're not probably going to find one without paying a scalper right now for them. Now, here's the thing. After the holidays, so in 2018, Nintendo's going to start reproducing the NES Classic again. I wouldn't recommend buying it right now off of a scalper when you're going to be able to pay retail value and get it after re-release. So one of your options would be to get your gamer a Raspberry Pi. This one is right here. This is in a Super Nintendo case. I actually have a video review of this Super Nintendo case, and I really like this case. I think it's a pretty sweet looking case, personally. But you got all your ports right here. You can use USB controllers. It supports Bluetooth, so you can even get those sweet 8-bit-do controllers, which they have some new SNES ones coming out that are Bluetooth outside of just the sweet NES one that they have right now that has the joysticks on it as well. So, sweet case. You can load up as many games as you want. It runs an emulation station. If you are able to build this for the person, I feel it would make a much better holiday gift. Or you could just get them a kit for them to build their own if they are somewhat technologically savvy. It should be a pretty simple task for them. Plus, there are hundreds of videos on YouTube showing you how to do it. Even I have made a how to make a Raspberry Pi video, or a Retro Pi. This would technically be a Retro Pi because it's running Retro Pi. Raspberry Pi is the actual board that's in here. So, but Raspberry Pi made my holiday list. Next up would be a wireless controller for your SNES or NES Classic. This one is my NES Classic one. My SNES Classic one will be coming after it releases on December 7th. It is the 8-bit-do one. They didn't make one for the NES Classic, which kind of threw me for a loop, but the SNES one will actually work on the NES Classic. 8-bit-do is very well received for the quality of their third-party controllers, which is a very rare thing to say because normally third-party controllers are what we might call junk. But I actually really like this one for my NES Classic. This is a My Arcade controller. There were some pretty bad reviews about these, but I picked them up at Best Buy because I got them for like 10 bucks a piece. They work really well. I use them all the time with my NES Classic when I'm playing it. Keep in mind, all my Nintendo stuff is in the bedroom. So normally I'm laying in bed, and I'll be playing while laying down. And the NES Classic doesn't exactly have long cords, so it's not like I could do that if I didn't have a wireless controller. That's why these made the list. Or if you want, you can go pre-order the 8-bit-do ones for the SNES Classic right now on Amazon. As I said, they release on December 7th. And anyone who has an SNES Classic would probably be pretty happy to get those. So, and finally, the last thing on my Nintendo gift guide, an SNES Classic. But Nick, you already put a Raspberry Pi on there. That's true, I did, but the Raspberry Pi doesn't have Nintendo's cute little skin or the controllers that come with it that actually feel like the original SNES controllers. I love my emulation games, but I will tell you this, it doesn't quite feel the same as when Nintendo is the one doing the emulation. Nintendo takes a lot of time in making sure that the original feel of the controller and the original feel of the game, physics-wise, are still intact when they release it. This offers you a lot of cool features such as skins with a very easy system to utilize, especially if you're not tech savvy enough to make a Raspberry Pi. This is a great option for you, let alone also being a nice collector's item. And it's still a lot of fun to play with my kids, and it's got a pretty good game selection on it. But you can pick one of these up for about $89. Good luck finding one though, they are kind of tricky to find. I have bumped into them twice since picking this up on release day. I thought about picking one up for a giveaway, which we will probably at some point do a Christmas giveaway. So guys, let me know what you think about my Nintendo gift guide. Let me know down below if there's something you would add or change drastically, or you just think that I'm blatantly insane in the membrane. But guys, don't forget to drop them thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Also, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to click subscribe. You can also ding that little bell. It'll let you know whenever I decide to upload some new content. And stick around, I'll have plenty more content coming for you.